Family gatherings should feel like reunions filled with warmth, laughter, and shared stories. But for me, those moments were a battlefield where I would often face the demons of my insecurities. On that unforgettable Saturday afternoon, the sun poured through the large bay windows of my Aunt Linda's lavish home, casting a golden glow over the opulent living room. I half-heartedly joined the crowd of relatives, knowing full well the dark undercurrents that lay beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect family. I stood awkwardly near the snack table, shuffling through the assortment of finger foods, trying to maintain an air of nonchalance. Among the chatter and laughter, I spotted my cousin Vanessa, the embodiment of privilege and success. She was the golden child, the one who'd always been showered with love, praise, and, importantly, resources. At every family gathering, Vanessa seemed to float effortlessly above the rest of us, while I felt burdened by my financial struggles and the weight of my own insignificance. As I tried to find solace in a plate of cheese and crackers, I overheard snippets of conversation that made my heart sink. "Vanessa's been promoted again," one relative exclaimed. "I heard she just closed a deal worth millions," another chimed in, their voices a sharp contrast to my own reality. What I wouldn't give to be part of those discussions, to be regarded as someone worthy of respect and admiration. But instead, I was the one who always ended up being put down or overlooked. "Hey there, cousin," Vanessa's voice sliced through the air, playful yet taunting. She sashayed over, her designer dress perfectly hugging her frame. "How's life treating you? Still using that ancient laptop? I can't believe you haven't upgraded yet." Laughter erupted from the group around her, and I felt the heat rushing to my cheeks. My old laptop, a hand-me-down that barely functioned, had become the butt of her joke. It was an easy target, something she could use to camouflage her own insecurities while belittling me. "Oh, it's just a little broken, no big deal," I muttered, trying to brush off the comment. But the shame was palpable. Everyone's eyes flicked toward me, and I could almost hear the collective thoughts. "Look at him, still struggling while Vanessa shines." I felt small, diminished in the face of my cousin's wealth and seemingly effortless success. "Little broken, that thing probably can't even run a simple program. You should just toss it out and save yourself the embarrassment," she said, flipping her perfectly manicured hair back as she turned to her audience. Her smile was dazzling, yet her words dripped with disdain. They thrived on the toxic dynamics of our family, where favoritism reigned supreme and anyone less fortunate was relegated to the sidelines. The laughter continued, and with each chuckle, my heart sank lower. It wasn't just her words, it was the way the family rallied behind her, affirming her superiority. This was not just a moment of public humiliation, it was a painful reminder of how deeply embedded their favoritism ran. Vanessa could never be wrong in their eyes, while I was relegated to the role of the family's perennial underdog, the one to be pitied, not respected. I clutched a cheese cracker, the snack now a source of comfort amid my growing humiliation. I glanced down at my worn shoes, the fraying laces glaring back at me like a reminder of my failures. I felt lost in a sea of wealth, each relative flaunting luxury, their lives in exaggerated contrast to mine. I was suffocating under the weight of their expectations and the constant comparisons. Just then, Vanessa's voice rang out again. "Oh, actually, I think I saw your laptop in the storage room. I can help you get rid of it if you'd like. Who knows, it might even be worth something as a vintage piece." The laughter erupted again, and she gestured dramatically toward the back of the house. "Yeah, sure," I replied, forcing a smile while wishing I could shrink into the floor. I had hoped to escape the gathering unscathed, but it was clear that this event would only deepen the rift between Vanessa and me. As the day wore on, I felt increasingly isolated, navigating conversations filled with veiled jabs and superficial pleasantries. Yet buried beneath the layers of humiliation was a flicker of determination. I couldn't let myself be diminished any longer. I wanted to matter, to be seen as more than just the family embarrassment. As I retreated to the back porch for some fresh air, the waves of anxiety washed over me. I had seen what my cousin could achieve with her connections, her confidence, and her wealth. But for me, these gatherings had become bittersweet reminders of my struggles, the poison of their favoritism seeping into my bones. If you've ever been underestimated by family, you'll understand every part of what happened next, I thought, realizing my journey was only just beginning. It was time to stand up for myself, to reclaim my story amid the chaos of their rich narratives. The seed of defiance started to grow within me, an ember waiting for the right moment to ignite. As I looked out into the sprawling backyard, the sun setting behind the hills, I made a silent vow. No longer would I allow the family structure to define my worth. This would be the last time I let Vanessa and her golden child status take center stage. The real story was just beginning, and I would reclaim my voice in ways they could never anticipate. As the laughter from the crowd echoed in my ears, I tried to shake off the humiliation that clung to me like a second skin. But Vanessa's words hung in the air, a stark reminder of how out of place I felt amidst my family. I watched her as she basked in the attention, her confidence radiating like the sun hitting the polished marble floor of Aunt Linda's home. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy intermingled with my shame. Just then, I noticed a couple of relatives huddled together, their voices low, but the words slipped through the cracks of their whispered conversation. I heard they're planning to sell it. What a waste, I caught one of them say. My heart raced. They were talking about my laptop, the same one Vanessa had just mocked. A wave of panic washed over me. Sell it, I thought. Without my permission. Curiosity piqued, I edged closer, trying to catch more of their conversation. They were discussing it as if it were a mere piece of junk, something to be tossed aside. It's just gathering dust in that old storage room. Why not make some money off it? Another voice chimed in, filled with the same dismissive tone Vanessa had used earlier. My throat tightened as I felt a mix of rage and disbelief. How could they? This wasn't just a broken laptop. It was the last remnant of my late father's efforts to help me build a future. My father had always believed in my potential, and although its hardware was outdated, it held memories and dreams I was not ready to part with. I had stored precious files and, unbeknownst to them, crucial information vital to my future. I stepped back, huddled by the snack table, my mind racing. How could I let them sell something that meant so much to me? Anger bubbled within me, but it was not just for the laptop. It was for the years of feeling invisible, for being the family embarrassment while they thrived in their golden bubbles. Yes, I was underappreciated, but I was not worthless. I could no longer remain silent and allow them to dictate my story. As I quietly mulled over my thoughts, I recalled my father's wisdom. It's not about what you have, but what you do with what you have. Those words resonated deeper now, a reminder that my worth was not tied to their judgment. I had to reclaim my narrative. This was the pivotal moment to rise above their perceptions. A sudden realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. What if my laptop wasn't just a broken piece of technology? What if it contained more than what they could ever imagine? I had spent countless hours working on projects that, due to my father's guidance, were now secure federal assets. I had been working in the shadows, learning about investments and federal programs that could change my life. I had not shared all of this with my family, knowing they would never understand my journey. They viewed me as the underdog, but they didn't know the strength I had been quietly building. The thought ignited a fire within me. I could not let them dictate my self-worth any longer. If they were planning to sell my laptop, they had underestimated me, and I was not about to let that slide. I decided then and there that I'd find a way to stop them. I would confront them and take back control of what belonged to me, regardless of their dismissive attitudes. Just as I was lost in my thoughts, Vanessa's laughter sliced through me again. Come on, you guys. Let's just take it out and see what it's really worth. I mean, how much could a vintage laptop even go for? She mused, her voice dripping with condescension. A wave of determination surged through me. I couldn't allow her to belittle what was mine any longer. Feeling a sudden surge of confidence, I approached the group. Actually, I'd like to keep my laptop, thank you very much, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The laughter died down and all eyes turned to me. Vanessa raised an eyebrow, a smirk curling her lips. Oh really? Why, it's practically a relic. As I met her gaze, my heart raced, but I stood my ground. It may not look like much to you, but it contains important information. You don't know what you're talking about. My voice was stronger than I expected, and for a brief moment I saw surprise flicker across her face. The other relatives exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping into their expressions. What do you mean, important information? One of them asked, genuinely curious. I took a breath, the weight of my words heavy in the air. Let's just say my laptop has value beyond its hardware. It's part of my future, and I'm not ready to part with it. A silence enveloped the room, and I could feel the tension shift. There was a power in standing up for myself, a realization that I had every right to defend my belongings, regardless of how they viewed me. If they thought they could treat me like a doormat, they were sorely mistaken. Vanessa's facade began to crack. It was clear she didn't know how to respond. "Well, if you insist," she said, her voice now laced with uncertainty, "but I still think it's just an old piece of junk." I refused to back down. "It's my junk, and it's not for you to decide its worth." I could feel the strength of my conviction growing, fueled by the years of being overlooked and underestimated. As I stepped back, heart racing, I realized the battle wasn't just about the laptop. It was about reclaiming my identity. I was tired of being treated like a lesser member of the family, and this was just the beginning. If they thought they could sell my past without consequence, they would soon learn the truth about my hidden assets and my worth. This was my turning point, and I felt an undeniable shift within me. The thought of reclaiming my dignity and standing firm against their judgment empowered me. I had spent too long in their shadows, and it was time to step into the light. Determined, I would protect what was rightfully mine. The next step was to confront them about the laptop and reveal the truth about its contents. I could feel a storm brewing, and I was ready to face whatever came next. This was just the beginning, and I was prepared to fight for my place in this family and my future. As I stood there, the weight of their scrutiny bore down on me. Vanessa's laughter faded into an oppressive silence that enveloped the room, her smirk frozen in disbelief. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing my resolve. "Actually, I'd like to keep my laptop, thank you very much," I asserted, trying to inject strength into my voice. The room shifted. Eyes darted between me and Vanessa, who seemed momentarily taken aback. "Oh, really? Why, it's practically a relic," she shot back, her tone dripping with disdain. I felt the sting of those words, but instead of crumbling under the weight of her scorn, I found a flicker of defiance within me. "It's not just an old piece of junk," I replied, my voice steadier now. "It holds memories and significant work that I've put my heart into." The moment the words left my mouth, I could sense the atmosphere change. My relatives exchanged glances, some incredulous, others amused. The laughter that had once filled the room transformed into a low murmur of gossip, as if they were recalibrating their perceptions of me. Memories. What memories could a laptop that old possibly hold? Vanessa rolled her eyes, her voice thick with condescension. "More than you think," I shot back, the heat of anger fueling my conviction. "And if you think you can just sell it without consulting me, you're mistaken." The tension in the air crackled like electricity. My Aunt Linda, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke up. "Vanessa, dear, let's not get carried away. We wouldn't want to make anyone uncomfortable, would we?" I felt a flicker of gratitude towards my aunt, but it quickly faded as I realized she was simply trying to diffuse the situation. The rest of the family was watching, their faces a mix of curiosity and judgment. I had just crossed an invisible line that separated me from them, and the ripple effects were palpable. But I wasn't ready to back down, not this time. "I've worked hard on that laptop. You all think I'm just a nobody, but you have no idea what I'm capable of," I declared, my voice rising with passion. "Capable of what? Typing up your feelings?" Vanessa shot back, her laughter mingling with the incredulous chuckles of others. The laughter stung, but beneath it I could feel a storm brewing inside me, an anger that had been festering for years. Just then, something within me clicked. I wasn't just a cousin with a broken laptop. I had been quietly investing in tech startups. I had scrimped and saved, using the resources I could muster to build a portfolio from the shadows. It wasn't something I had shared with anyone, not even my father before he passed. I didn't need their approval or validation. I had been crafting my own destiny all along. The realization that I had something of value, a significant financial portfolio, was both liberating and daunting. I had been too timid to share it, fearing their dismissive attitudes would only reinforce my status as the family outsider. But now, their mockery felt like fuel for a fire I was ready to unleash. "I've put my money where my mouth is," I said, my voice firm. "I've invested in startups, real companies that are changing the world. And I'm not going to let you dismiss me or my laptop any longer." The room fell silent. Their expressions morphed from laughter to shock. It was as if I had pulled the rug out from under them, exposing a truth they had never anticipated. Invested in what? Vanessa asked, her earlier confidence now replaced with skepticism. What could you possibly know about investments? More than you think, I replied, my heart racing. I've been studying this for years, and I've secured assets that could surprise you. A wave of disbelief washed over the crowd, but I could see curiosity flickering in some eyes. In that moment, I realized that I was finally confronting the narrative they had woven around me. I was no longer just the underdog, I was a contender in this family game. As the seconds ticked by, I sensed that I was at a precipice. The moment of self-discovery had arrived, and I was ready to embrace it fully. You think I'm just an embarrassment to this family, I continued, my voice unwavering. But I've been building something that you don't even see. And I'm tired of being treated like a joke. Vanessa huffed, trying to regain her composure. Well, good luck with that. It still doesn't change the fact that your laptop is just a piece of junk, she spat, attempting to reclaim her earlier dominance. Is it? I shot back, my confidence swelling. What if I told you that it's worth more than the sum of its parts? What if I told you that it holds not just my work but potential opportunities that could change everything for me? The air shifted again, tension thickening as the implications of my words settled over the room. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a laptop, it was about potential, ambition, and the power of hidden knowledge. I took a deep breath, grounding myself. It was time to draw the line. You don't get to decide my worth. You don't get to dictate my story anymore. I am reclaiming my narrative, and this time I am not backing down. With those words, I felt a wave of empowerment wash over me. I had finally found my voice, and I was ready to confront the family dynamics that had long underestimated me. The moment of self-discovery prepared me for the ultimate confrontation that would reveal my true power and lay bare the underestimation I had endured for far too long. As I turned to leave the room, the whispers and sideways glances followed me, but I held my head high. The laptop wasn't just a relic, it was a symbol of everything I had built and everything I was about to reclaim. The battle was far from over, but I knew I was ready for the next chapter. As the silence hung heavy in the air, I could feel the tension thickening, like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. My heart raced as I stood my ground, determination coursing through me. Just then, the door swung open and a tall figure stepped into the room, a stranger dressed in a sharp suit. The atmosphere shifted once again, this time with a mix of curiosity and unease. "Excuse me, everyone," he said, his voice commanding attention. "I'm here on behalf of the Federal Assets Division." My heart skipped a beat. The man scanned the room, locking eyes with me momentarily before continuing. "I have some important information regarding the laptop you claim is just a broken relic." The room fell into an even deeper silence, the kind that felt almost suffocating. Vanessa's smug expression faltered as she stepped back, confusion clouding her features. "What do you mean?" she stammered, her bravado slipping away. The investigator turned toward her, his demeanor professional yet firm. "Ma'am, the laptop in question is not merely an old piece of technology. It contains secure federal assets that have been registered under your cousin's name." His words hung in the air like a bombshell, shattering the facade of superiority that Vanessa and my relatives had built around themselves. "What?" Vanessa exclaimed, her voice a mix of disbelief and panic. "That can't be true." The investigator remained unfazed. "I can assure you it is. The laptop holds access to assets valued at approximately $60 million. Gasps erupted from the crowd, and I felt a rush of vindication wash over me. I had always known the worth of my work, but now the world would see it too. "60 million?" my Aunt Linda echoed, her voice trembling. "But how? Why didn't you tell us?" The accusatory tone in her voice was unmistakable, yet I felt no obligation to explain myself. "Because I wanted to keep it private," I replied, feeling a newfound confidence surge within me. "You all have never seen me as anything more than the underdog, the cousin who doesn't fit in. I didn't need your approval to succeed." The investigator continued, "As part of the asset recovery process, we need to secure the laptop and its contents. Your cousin is the rightful owner, and any attempt to sell it without consent is illegal." His gaze shifted from Vanessa to the rest of my relatives, who were now shifting uncomfortably, their previous mockery replaced by a palpable fear. Vanessa's face turned a shade of red that rivaled the sunset. "This is ridiculous. You're just trying to embarrass me," she shot back, but her voice lacked conviction. The room was a whirlwind of shifting loyalties, and I could see the cracks forming in the once impenetrable facade of my wealthy relatives. No, Vanessa, I said, my voice steady. This isn't about you anymore. This is about what I've built for myself and the respect I deserve. The investigator nodded approvingly. It's crucial to understand that the narrative has shifted. Your cousin here has been quietly amassing a portfolio of investments that far exceeds what any of you could have imagined. I glanced around, meeting the surprised eyes of my family. I've invested in tech startups, real companies that are changing lives. I didn't need your validation to pursue my dreams. With each word, I felt the weight of years of humiliation lifting. I wasn't just the cousin with the broken laptop, I was a force to be reckoned with. As the reality of my newfound status sank in, Vanessa's bravado crumbled. But you could have told us. We're family, she pleaded, her voice now tinged with desperation. Family doesn't just belittle one another, I replied, my voice unwavering. Family supports each other, and I've had to learn that support from a distance. The investigator stepped forward. We will need to conduct a formal assessment of the laptop and its contents. This process will ensure that all assets are legally documented and secured. I nodded, feeling a sense of empowerment. I'm ready, I declared, my voice rising above the murmurs of disbelief. I've worked hard for this, and I won't let anyone take it away from me again. As the investigator began to take notes, I felt my relatives' eyes on me, some in awe, others in disdain, but I no longer cared. I had reclaimed my narrative, and for the first time I felt like I belonged. The room began to buzz with conversations, but I tuned them out, focusing instead on my own thoughts. I had transformed from the underestimated cousin to the one who demanded respect. I had faced down years of ridicule and emerged victorious. Can you believe it? One relative whispered to another. I always thought they were just a nobody. I smiled to myself. They were beginning to see me for who I truly was, and I felt a warm sense of satisfaction wash over me. As the investigator wrapped up his notes, he turned to me. Congratulations. You hold the power now, and it's time to show your family what you're truly capable of. My heart swelled with pride. This was my moment of redemption, not just for myself, but for anyone who had ever been underestimated. As the gathering began to disperse, I felt a sense of closure. I had not only reclaimed my laptop, but also my dignity and self-worth. Hey, if you ever need help with your investments, I'd be happy to lend a hand, my Aunt Linda offered, her tone softer, almost apologetic. Thanks, Aunt Linda, I replied, my voice genuine, but I think I can manage on my own from here. As I walked out of the house, my heart felt light. I had faced the storm and emerged stronger, and for the first time, I understood that true wealth wasn't just about money. It was about self-respect, courage, and the journey of reclaiming one's narrative. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more stories where the underdog finally gets the justice they deserve.